Hello, I think I'm live. This is only my second time going live on YouTube, so I am still learning all of the software. So welcome everybody, and I'm trying to see who's here. Give people time to come in. I think there was an announcement I put out maybe an hour or two, a couple hours ago. So let's see if people got it. And I guess, how do I find out if I'm actually live? I forgot last time how I figured that out. But I see some people here. Hello from Tucson. Oh yeah, let me know where you're streaming in from. Colorado. Margaret says they're a space nerd. I'm live. Thank you, Jennifer McAlchemy. What a great name, McAlchemy. That's like perfect. Like son of the alchemist, right? Or daughter of the alchemist. Florida, Ohio, Bakersfield, Virginia, North Florida near Tallahassee, Texas, Canada, Nova Scotia, Chicago, that's my hometown, Fresno, Kentucky, Knoxville. I used to live in Florida. My folks live in Arizona. Here's a question. Will we be liberated from this planet by 3i Atlas? I'm going to start with that question. So I think you haven't been following my videos. So I'll give a recap. And I don't know if I have moderators. If I do, let me know. I have a couple moderators that sometimes help me out. So they might be here. I might have to make them moderators. So there's that. Let's see. On YouTube, it still says upcoming. I hope it's everything's good. That's just a glitch. Okay, so let me answer that first question. New Orleans, Indiana, Pittsburgh. I just love to hear where people are from. Pennsylvania, New Mexico with little alien heads. Yeah, you got a lot of aliens over there. St. Petersburg, Florida. Southwest Michigan. I spent all my summers in Battle Creek, Michigan. Loved it. Punta Gorda in Florida. I've been there. I used to live in Florida. Hello, Canada, Minnesota. Okay, Tam says, yes, you are on YouTube. Okay, great. I'm still new to this Yardstream YouTube interface. So I was like, am I? Because when I went to look at my channel, it said upcoming. So I was like, okay. Okay, so I had a question from someone I'm going to start with, which was something to the effect of, is 3i Atlas going to save us? And isn't this everyone's question, right? I mean, I know it's my question. It was my question too when I first started channeling 3i Atlas. I'm like, please, can you save us? And let me give a little context for this. So, oh yeah, Jennifer McAlchemy, thanks for telling people to like and at the video and hype it. I don't know what hyping does, but I think it's a good thing. And yeah, so do all the things. Let me give you some context before I address that question. Starting in December of last year, I started to talk to a bunch of star beings who were all kind of hovering around our planet in December, right? So shortly after the big joust, there were all these ships here, right? And some of us, a lot of people were aware, right? Because there were orbs everywhere that couldn't be explained. And they were kind of like plasmoid, right? They weren't like human, manufactured productions. They were these weird plasma orbs. And so they all started showing up, and they started talking to me because I'm a starseed. And so I've been communicating with star beings my whole life. And, they started telling me, why they were here and how they were trying to help us. So of course, when 3i Atlas showed up, I was hoping that it was a part of that same campaign. It really isn't, but it is connected. So 3i Atlas is not here to save us, sorry to say. They have an entirely different mission. However, it is connected. Their mission is connected to the star beings who do want to save us. And of course, we're just so desperate for a savior. And what I keep getting told is, we have to save ourselves, right? We are our saviors. It's up to the people. And so going back to the star beings I was talking to back in December, one of the things that they said to me was, we can't interfere with humanity unless we're invited to, right? Kind of like the Prime Directive, from Star Trek. But I think with the Prime Directive on Star Trek, they can't even interfere if they get invited. So it's a little different. It's a little better. We can invite them. And they said there weren't enough people. There wasn't like a critical mass of people who were asking for intervention from star beings. And so they were kind of gathered around because they were worried about us because of the whole regime change and the connection between the regime change and a starseed named Leon and his connection to some nefarious star beings. But, so those of you who've been following me since November, I've told that story quite a long time ago. So how does it connect to the present moment? Three-Eye Atlas, it's being called a comet, right? And so that's the official story. And so I started, kind of looking for all of the, astronomical papers I could find, all of the videos, all of any official, any official information about it. And then I also started to tune in myself to see if I could communicate directly with it. And so the first time I communicated directly with it, I got this sense of it being like a sentient rock, that it was both organic and mineral. And I was also told that it's multidimensional. And to the question at hand, are they coming to save us? I did ask. And they said, on more than one occasion, they told me that their mission really isn't focused on humanity. They're not actually in our solar system primarily to be focused on us. They're here because of all of the life forms in the solar system. And so they talked about there being a lot of different life forms on different planets. And then also on our planet, we have several different planes of existence where different beings, energetic beings exist. And then we have the animals and the plants and the beings that live in the ocean, and then the beings that live inside the earth. And so they're concerned with all of those. And we are not their focus. However, they did say that they are playing a role in assisting the Galactic Federation to assist us. So the Galactic Federation is kind of like a UN of star systems that come together, and they've been concerned about us for some time and been trying to help us for some time. And they are planning to initiate full contact. And I don't have exact timeline. I'm getting the sense that it's, in a few months. And so when I was talking to this most recent channeling, I was actually talking to one of my star families about Three-Eye Atlas. And that was because although I was able to talk directly to Three-Eye Atlas earlier, like in the last week, I wasn't able to do that yesterday. So I spoke to my star family and asked them to give me the information. And they said that Three-Eye Atlas, what's really important about their mission is that they're broadcasting to us. And so the scientists are getting the broadcasts. They're not talking about it, but they're getting it. And they also said to me, they don't know that the scientists understand the broadcast yet, because that's not really where their attention is. Their attention is really guided by their dogma and by what they expect to see, and also by what they're comfortable seeing. And so but they are broadcasting to them. And so they said this the last time I spoke to them, like a week ago, that they are sending lots of data to our scientists so that our scientists can, kind of get a clue as to what this is. And what they said was that broadcast is helping prepare us for contact. So it's helping to evolve our scientific models of, astrophysics. We have certain models, cosmological models, and this comet is not fitting into those models. And so that is causing an evolution of our knowledge. Our scientific knowledge is evolving as a direct result of the observation of Three-Eye Atlas. And so that's one of the ways in which they're helping us. Another way in which they're helping us is by preparing us for contact, right? Oh, somebody gifted a membership. I don't know how that's done, but I like it. I do have membership, so please join. I'm going to do a member-only event soon. Once I get a critical mass of members, I'm going to do a members-only event, which is pretty soon. So that's kind of my long answer to that question. And how many people are here? Let's see. I can't tell because I forgot how to look at this on YouTube. Okay. So you can gift a membership. I love that. So Chiao Young Lee, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, has a question. They said they want, oh, can I put it? I want to put it. Oh, look, I could put the question. There we go. So here's the question or the statement. Chiao Young Lee says, I want to go back to where I belong. Three-Eye Atlas, please bring me back with you. I feel like this is a sentiment that a lot of us have. You know, if you're a starseed, if you feel like you have origins in other star systems, a lot of people are like, please get me off this rock. It's just so crazy here. It's like the trailer trash planet. Oh, yeah, we shouldn't say that, though, because Mother Gaia is awesome. It's us. We're the problem. There's nothing wrong with the planet. So thank you for that. Now, how do I take it off? Okay. So let me see. I'm just looking for questions and comments. Some of these are fun. FY447 with no name, just a designation, wants to be taken to the feline part of the galaxy. Now, somebody was saying something about me being connected to Lyra star system. And the last channeling I did was with a star system that was, they described themselves as near Lyra, Lyra, the Lyran constellation, and the third planet near Lyra. And I'm not sure, I wasn't sure what that was because there's no planets in the Lyra star system. But they said if you combine that statement, third planet from the sun, which is how we describe ourselves, with Lyran's constellation, that describes where they were. I don't know which one that is. I have a lot of star origins. I have 12, so I don't remember them all. I have them all written down somewhere, but I don't remember them right now. Stop the world. I want to get off. Put up super stickers. There's no donation option. Ooh, how do I do that? Eek. Media asset? Let's see if I can find it. Oh, look, I can do an applause. Very much. Can go into space. Okay, someone tell me. That's cute. How do I stop it? Okay. One day I will learn all the sound effects. But yeah, I do want to, I don't know how to do the donation button, but if someone can tell me, I will do that. I'm new to YouTube Live, so you got to bear with me. This is only my second YouTube Live. I've done a lot of TikTok Lives, and it's getting crazy over there with the censorship. And so I was like, let me learn how to do it over here. Okay, let me put this question up. And if someone wants to tell me how to do the donation thing, I will do it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to answer questions. Oh, what's this? Oh, Okay. So, Dr. Vess, you said you work with crystals to connect with 3i Atlas. Could you let us know which crystals? I got this question a lot in my comment section under my videos. And I did answer it, but like nobody reads the comments because I kept getting the same question over and over. So the two crystals that I was using to work with 3i Atlas are celestite. I've been using this raw celestite. And then I've been using this clear quartz, which is like terminated on one end, but it's raw on the other. And this is actually my favorite crystal. I have a lot of crystals, and this is my all-time favorite crystal. Not because it's fancy, obviously it's not, but it's just the feeling of it. I have a really strong connection to this crystal. And so that's really the most important thing with crystals, is that you connect with them. So like when you go to a crystal shop, just pick them up. Don't buy anything without picking it up and holding it for a while. Walk around the store with it in your hand and just feel like, which one do you feel energy from? Or do you feel a connection? And that's the one you want to use. Now, celestite, I started working with that a while ago because I have a let me see if I can go get my other celestite. Celestite is good for working with angels, and I work with angels, but angels is like includes angelic realm. So there are a number of beings who would be classified as angels, like orishas or a type of angel. So different traditions are going to have different names for them besides angels. So like this is a celestite that I have. I have a couple of these. This is a really nice one that was gifted to me by my girlfriend. She knew how much I liked it for meditating. So I find that celestite is helpful for going into a trance or going into into another dimension. I also find that shungite is good for that. And, I don't have all my crystals like within reach because just where I'm sitting. But let's listen. Let's show this comment. Daniel says that 3i Atlas is a fake psyop. Let's address this. Okay. Sorry, I just saw another question. Okay, let's address this because I've seen this a few times, and it's connected to this whole idea of a Project Bluebeam. And feel free to put comments if you want to add what you know about Project Bluebeam. But I'll tell you the little that I know is that it's a government project, and I think information about it has been released either by former agents who've published stuff or by declassified documents. And it's this project where the U.S. government has this plan where they're going to create a false contact scenario where people are going to be told that aliens are landing on Earth, but it's only going to be done to manipulate people to have some type of control over them for some other purpose. And so there are some people who are rightly asking, oh, could this be a PSYOP, right? What does PSYOP stand for? Psychological operation? I'm not sure. But it's like a setup, right? And so if that's the case, here's why I don't think it is. If it was one, it's like really, really a really bad one. Because with a PSYOP or Project Bluebeam, you want to convince the public that something is happening. And we have the opposite going on right now. The government is telling us over and over again, there's nothing to see here. There's no aliens. This is just a comet. There's nothing interesting about it. We're not even going to show you pictures because it's just that boring to us. We just don't care. Right? NASA, if you go to their website, they don't have updates. Their last update was like August. They're not posting about this a lot. The European Space Agency also, if you go to their website, you're not going to see a lot of updates. So with a PSYOP, what you would see is there'd be lots of news articles about it. NASA would be putting out, alerts. We'd be getting, we'd be getting propaganda basically telling us we should be afraid. And we're getting the opposite of that. So that's why I don't think it is a Project Bluebeam or a PSYOP. But I think it's interesting that, now I already forgot his name. Our commenter is in this live stream, even though he thinks it's a PSYOP. So you're interested enough to be in the live stream, but you still think maybe it's just a fake thing, right? So I don't know. I find that kind of fascinating that you're like devoting some of your time to this live stream. As a skeptic, I like skeptics. I have been a skeptic much of my life about a lot of things. I started out in physics. My first degree was in physics. I did my bachelor's thesis in astrophysics, theoretical astrophysics. My project was on the solar neutrino, which back then was a significant particle that astrophysicists looked at because it told us something about the sun, and the sun being the only, the closest star to us. Much of stellar physics was based on information we were receiving from the sun. Now, I'm kind of old, so this was a long time ago. And, astronomy has evolved since then, and they have all of these telescopes that they're able to collect a lot more data. They don't have to rely on solar neutrinos from the sun. Has anyone... So Daniel, was that the same guy? Says, maybe it's a reverse psychology PSYOP, so people fall for it. So tell us it's not anything, and then we're going to convince ourselves it is. I don't know. That feels like a stretch, It feels like a stretch. But, you could be right and I could be wrong. But, I do trust the information I get as a psychic medium when I tune in. I do trust it. I don't think that I'm 100% accurate, but I do feel like my information has been really pretty reliable. I have made a number of predictions since November that have come true. And I made a number of predictions during the pandemic, which came true. And I've also found that my gifts have been really helpful for me in helping people who are sick as a medical intuitive. So although I have training in science, I'm also a psychic. And I do think that science and psychic are both reliable sources of information. So I'm going to put another question up, and I still don't know how to, I'm going to look it up real quick. Because somebody asked me to put the thing up for YouTube. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. I'm just learning how to do the super chat. I saw the super chat in Dobsonian Power, and I was like, I wonder what that is. I wonder how he did that. Okay, so I have a new question up, and I'm about to address that. But I am also doing something else at the same time. So bear with me, One of the things I've been noticing I want to talk about is, when I do my videos, I tend to do them kind of like I would a class, because I'm a teacher, right? I'm a retired professor and I teach classes online. And so I tend to prepare my videos like, I have a list of things I'm going to talk about, like an outline, and I'm going to go through this list, all the theories, all the, the anomalies, right? And that's how I tend to do my videos. But then when I go online, I notice that a lot of people, are more casual, and they just kind of hang out and they talk about their cat, or they talk about different things. So it's interesting that, so I was like, I should start doing that more. So I just enabled super chat, and so now I'm going to go to my question. So I don't know what that means, but maybe it'll show up. So I was excited to hear 3i Atlas is a planetoid, a mini planet that can only be seen fully in other dimensions. Our 3D vision only sees a rock-shaped comet. Dr. Vest said this, very interesting. I think you are very intriguing. Yeah, so that's what I said in my last video, the most recent channeling, which was yesterday. when I was asking the question, is are there people inside, right? Is this a spaceship? Like, that's one of the theories, right? One of the theories, and there are some psychics out there who say it's a spaceship and they're talking to beings inside the spaceship. And I haven't done that, right? And so I asked that, and I was told, yes and no, yes and no. And I was like, oh, yes and no, that's not a good answer. But when I get these weird answers, for me, it just confirms that this is not me. I'm not making this. I would not have come up with a non-answer, right? That's not good. I would come up with I wouldn't come up with a weird or a vague answer. I would, if I was making it up myself. So sometimes stuff like that can be evidential. As a psychic, whenever you get stuff that you don't expect, or that you don't believe in, or that you think is, not the answer you wanted, that's usually a good sign that you're tapped into something legit. So when I said, what do you mean yes or no? They said, well, we're a multidimensional, being. And my screen just suddenly changed for some reason, got dark. We're a multidimensional being, but you're looking at us in your dimension, which they made fun of us calling ours the 3D, the third dimension. They're like, yeah, we don't know why you call it that. But, sometimes, star beings have jokes. Just spirits are like that too. They'll make fun of us. And they're like, yeah, your dimension, you're only able to see a small part of us. And the part of us that you can see is kind of like this sentient rock. It's organic, but it's also mineral. It's manufactured, but it's also organic. It's a mixture. And so they said the beings that are connected to 3i Atlas are not literally in our dimension. And it might be a safety issue. I don't know. Because you may have heard me talk about on my other video about how they, Earth is kind of, it's like the bad neighborhood in the galaxy, because we're so violent. But anyway, yeah, so the beings are not actually here, is the answer I got. And they also said that they were a planetoid. So when I said, are you a craft? Because I had been tuning in last week and they were saying, oh, we're like a sentient rock, and they didn't say they were a craft, but then they showed me their surface and it was very polished, like a manufactured metal, And so I was like, well, are you a spacecraft? And they said, oh, I got super chat. Okay, this is my first time doing super chat. Oh, I was supposed to announce it, right? How exciting. Super chat. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know how to say it like Dabsonian. He has a whole sound effect and everything. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a is that my super chat noise? Or chat. I'm having so much fun. So yeah, and so they said, oh, we're a planetoid. Because when I asked, are you a ship? They're like, no, we're a planetoid. So a planetoid is like a tiny planet. Actually, if you're an astronomer and you're in here and you want to give a better definition, please do. I did my degree in physics so long ago. And so lately I've been like, oh, I should reread some of my old astronomy, astrophysics books so I can, remember. But a planetoid is so a planet you can think of as if I can remember this correctly, like a dead star, like the star, the sun is a star, like it's alive, it's got molten, it's molten lava, it's constantly, it's dynamic, it's hot. But then when it dies, not die, is that the right word? It kind of what's the word? Cools off. It can become a planet. And so a planet, of course, can host life, but not all planets host life. Actually, they all do, correction. They just don't all host our kind of life. So we're a little misguided about that. That's what they were explaining to me this week, that humans think we have a definition of life that's very limited. So we only consider like plants and animals and humans alive. We don't consider rocks alive. We don't consider energetic beings alive, right? We don't really have an understanding of different types of life forms. And so when we say, oh, there's no life on Mars, there is life on Mars, but it's energetic life. And we're only looking for that kind of physical life, 3D life that we're familiar with. So, I know I was gonna, oh, here's one. Is this it? No, I wanted to grab those other, there's another super chat. Here it is. Super chat. Thank you, Toddy Gem, for the $10 super sticker. Oh, what's the difference between super sticker and super chat? I don't know, but it's fun. So thank you. And let me look for another question. Okay, somebody said Pam Gregory talked about 3i Atlas. I might have seen her. People come into my comments and they tell me about other psychics talking about 3i Atlas, and then I go look for them. Or people tell me about other channels like Dobsonian Power. That's how I found out about them. And then, actually, my friend, he and I were both physics majors, and now we're poets. We're both poets and physics enthusiasts, I should say. So he told me about Dobsonian Power. For those who don't know, it's this really funny YouTube channel. It's funny because he has a lot of bells and whistles, like sound effects and images, and he's kind of dramatic. So it's very entertaining. But he also gets like the late breaking news. He's very good at finding the most like recent, publications and announcements and stuff. Good morning, Vienna, Austria. Good to have you here, Sister Austria. I love it when people are listening from other places. Okay, let's see. Deanna G. Kissing Frog. I thought that was your name. Kissing Frogs Media. I have the impression that Atlas is biological and technology combined. Yeah, so that's what I got the first time. So I've channeled with 3i Atlas twice. And then the third time I was not channeling with 3i Atlas, but with other beings who were giving me, secondhand information. Okay. This is an interesting question. Why are frogs such a prolific symbol at this time? I just love it, right? The frogs of Portlandia, and now they're spreading. So like for the big gathering, I was a giant polar bear inflatable. But I also got a giant elephant for my sister. There's a lot of fun inflatables out there, but the frog, I was curious about that because there was also a frog association with the whole Chuckle Cheese situation, and the Groyper movement had Pepe the Frog as one of their symbols, and that wasn't a great association. And then all of a sudden, it was a big symbol for the resistance, which I think is, it's a good question. It's really interesting. Frogs, they are associated with luck. They're associated with abundance, with springtime, with regeneration, with new beginnings. These are some of the symbolic meanings of frogs. And so that may be why people are really tuning into the frog imagery, because it has, these really positive associations. And that's what we're wanting, right? We're trying to create a new world. We're visualizing and manifesting and bringing into existence a new world. And so maybe that makes, maybe that's why the frog is a good image for us. But it started with that one frog, right? That one frog standing up to all of the armed men. It's such a powerful image. But maybe someone else has ideas about this. Okay, no more super chats? I want super chats. I'm going to get my sound effect together. You wait. Okay, this person says, Deanna says, frogs is about being willing to take leaps of faith and make mistakes and try again. Yeah, frog costumes are the most difficult to find, says Terry Mullins. Yeah, that's because everybody wanted the frog. Um, okay. Christine says they're first affected by external events. They're sensitive to their environments. Transformation from water to earth. I think that's another important symbolism, that they're both in the water and outside of the water. Frogs, here's someone else says frogs are a bellwether species. Amphibians tell us how healthy the environment is. Okay, that's good to know. I had a psychic vision about frogs many years ago. I'll just maybe tell this story since we're talking about frogs. I was living in Casadega, which is a spiritualist community in Florida, and the community is just all mediums. And I was there studying with lots of different mediums and healers. And I also moved there, and I was living there, so I was like full-time immersed. And it's in one of those vortexes, so the energy is just amazing, and there's just all kinds of spirits there. And we had an issue we have a pond there, and in the past, a lot of the people that lived and died there would put their ashes in the pond, and so the pond had a lot of spiritual significance to the community. And then one year, the pond, I'm not going to remember my story correctly. I'm going to get my story correct before I tell it. The pond just completely dried up, and it was dried up for a couple of years, and people were very concerned about it. And then one year, I was over by the pond, the X pond, because it was just like a basin full of very tall plants, and they looked like underwater plants, but there was no water, which was really weird. It was like spaceshipy. It was like, space-like. It was like we're in another, place with these weird plants. And one day I was walking around the X pond, and all of a sudden I saw all of these frogs. And they weren't really there. I just saw them in my mind. I saw all these frogs. And I knew there's going to be an overgrowth of frogs, which means there's going to be flooding. There's going to be like excessive rainfall. And then that next year there was flooding, and our pond came back. And so the frogs to me were like the person just said, a bellwether species, or like a sign or a symbol of something to come. Okay, so back to 3i Atlas. Okay, someone's answering someone else's question. Oh, I think someone just gave me, did someone just give me a chat? I'm trying to put you on I don't know how to put you on the window. So thank you, Deborah Berry, for your $10. I don't know if that's what is that called? Is it called a super chat or something else? Super ticket chat. But thank you. And if I missed you, I'm sorry. I'm new to this whole super chat thing. So thanks for your donations. Thanks for your super chats. Okay, I'm just looking for new questions. Oh yeah, this one. Haha. Always thought octopus are star beings. They are. Actually, I'm related to them. And so those are one of my star families, is the octopus people, or the squid people, they're called. And they are from another star system, and they came here to planet Earth. So they're not from here, and they're highly intelligent. Oh, okay. I'm trying to put your thank you, Moonstruck, for the $9.99 super donation. I don't know if it's called super sticker. Thank you, Westy Mama, for the $49.99 super sticker. I don't know if I'm getting them all. So let me try to. How come it won't let me? Oh, there it is. Thank you, Susie Q, for the $5. Oh, here's a question. Are they supposed to come with questions? Am I missing the questions? Super chat questions are usually answered first. Thank you, Christine. Okay, now I'm learning. You got to give me a minute. I'm learning. Thank you for explaining things. Okay, I didn't know. Do they all have questions? I didn't see all the questions. I was just saying thank you. Okay, here's a question. Healing question. Can we heal our own bodies of any disease without medicines, cancer, Parkinson's, autism? Oh, that's a super controversial question. I'm a medical intuitive, so healing, healthcare, that's my thing. I'm writing a book right now, actually, about it. And I should be holding up my other books here for people to see, but I always forget to. But so the answer is yes and no. Yes, in general, it is possible for people to heal their own bodies without medicine. But no, it's not true that every person can do that. And it's also not the case that everybody who can do it is allowed to do it. So it depends on your life purpose, your karma, what you came to do. Some of us are meant to have diseases because they're ways that we teach people things, or they're ways that we learn things. And so and some people, we are meant to have a relationship with a medical professional because we're helping them to evolve by interacting with them. Sometimes a family member has an illness because it's actually that illness is providing an opportunity for the whole family to heal around some other issue. And so that's my answer. So now I have to answer all these other super chats. Is this a super chat? Is this a super chat? Thank you for joining. I just got a new member. I appreciate that. And so I am looking for the super chats to answer them. Thank you, Moonstruck. Sent a couple of them. And super sticker is donation only. Super chat is donation to get their question answered. And then people can also give out gift memberships. So I'm just learning that too. All right. So I hope I'm going to remember to acknowledge everybody who's doing super chats and super questions or super stickers. Okay. Feel free to, if someone in the chat wants to tell me, oh, you missed a super chat question, let me know. I probably have, so I do have moderators, but I'm not sure if I have them today. Okay. Looking for more questions. Yes, I'll have to do more lives to practice. This is my second live. I've done a whole lot of TikTok lives. So like after the joust, I was going on TikTok every day and I was doing lives. I was doing lives every day for a while, live meditations every day. And then more recently, I've started doing more work on YouTube. And so that's why I'm kind of new to the YouTube lives. Oh, I like this question from DM. Is there a plant medicine somewhere on earth for every ailment that can happen to the human body? Yes. And different people are going to say different things about which one it is. So I'm going to give you a couple that I've heard of. Dolores Cannon, she wrote all these great books where she hypnotized people to other lives and other dimensions and spoke to a lot of starseeds. And I remember there was one transcript in one of her books where they said, oh, we sent this plant to planet Earth because it can be used for everything. You can make clothes out of it. You can build houses out of it. It's a medicine. It's a food. and you guys made it illegal. And so that's cannabis. So that's one I've heard. That's from Dolores Cannon. One that I believe is also like that is moringa. Moringa, which is found in Africa and Asia, is an herb that's good for, well, what can I say on here? You got to be careful, right? I'm not a prescribing licensed physician. So, make your own health decisions based on working with a licensed professional. But there are people who say that moringa can treat and prevent all kinds of things, including cancer. And I have been told that intuitively by my guides that it's a wonder drug. What's the name for that kind of plant? They have a name for that, like tonic, but there's another name. I'm forgetting it right now. When something is good for everything, that's what moringa is. Okay. No more super chats. And someone else just recommended another herb. Um, is there a common name for that? Metragnia speciosa? What's the common name? Super plant. There's another name for it. I forget what it's called. Moringa. Yeah. This is the herb I'm talking about, moringa. Okay. Oh, my ring. Someone said they missed their ring. My ring. I was playing basketball last night, and I take it off to play basketball so I don't injure any of my teammates. There it is. um, Forgot to put it on. Can you get high from it? Moringa? No. At least I don't know how to. I mean, I'm not interested in getting high because I'm somebody who can go into altered states at will. So I've never been interested in mind altering substances. But how can cannabis be a food? I don't know, but I know that when I was in Jamaica when I was young, I studied with some healers there, and they told me that cannabis was a medicine, and that the main way that the medicine is supposed to be taken is through ingesting it as food. Like you make a tea or you put it in food, like you cook it in a stew or whatever. Like you would any other like plant or spice. So I guess that's what they meant. Okay, just looking for more questions and more super chats. Now I should say something about that. Since I mentioned that some people think cannabis is a super plant, I do want to say something about that, because there is a problem with people. I was taught this by one of my teachers in Jamaica, who's an herbal, or a spiritual herbal doctor, that there's a lot of abuse of cannabis, and they said that it's a medicine. It's not meant for recreational purposes, and so because people have gotten so caught up in the kind of mind altering nature of it, they overuse it. And they said, all medicine is a poison at a certain point, right? If you take too much of any medicine, it becomes a poison. And so you do see this, that some people are using it as medicine, but then they're overusing it. And so, for example, ADHD, there have been some studies showing that cannabis can help with ADHD, but it's actually not the THC. You actually need the CBD without the THC for it to be effective with ADHD. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I read in a study. And I haven't read a lot of studies, but I'm really interested in this because I have ADHD, and I have relatives with ADHD, and I've always been an advocate for people with ADHD and people who are neurodivergent. I'm always trying to learn about different natural treatments, and so it does help with ADHD, but not if you're like smoking it with the THC, because then you can get this other condition. I forget what it's called, but it's like from overuse of cannabis, which then eliminates all the benefits that help with ADHD. So you got to be careful. So that's why it's just safer for a lot of treatments to get the kind that doesn't have the THC, because then you're not going to as likely get kind of hooked on that feeling and, I want to feel that way. But so for people who are just logging in, we're supposed to be talking about 3i Atlas. We're talking about herbs and plants and medicine now, probably because I'm a medical intuitive and I just attract those kind of people. But but I do want to talk more about 3i Atlas. So I think I'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that I've learned by tapping into 3i Atlas. I also wanted to go over some of the anomalies. So the reason why 3i Atlas is so interesting to me and to a lot of people is because it doesn't fit like astronomical models. We don't understand it, right? So it's supposed to be a comet, and I have all these tabs open because I thought we were going to talk about some of this. So let me see if I can pull it up. It has all of these anomalies. And so, there's one scientist, Avi Loeb, who's from Harvard, he's an astrophysicist, and he's like the only one of the only scientists out there who is talking about Three-Eye Atlas and actually saying maybe it's not a comet, right? And most of the other people are kind of following the party line. And so he's now seen as a controversial figure. All other scientists are calling him a kook, even though he runs some program at Harvard in astrophysics. But that's how it is when there are these very narrow ways of thinking that are fields of study that define things in a very particular way. So there's a standard model, right? There's an understanding that astrophysicists have of how things operate in space, and this comet really isn't following that. And so there are all these anomalies. Some I talked about in some of my other videos. I just want to talk about some of them briefly in this live, in case you didn't watch all my other videos. I can't assume that, right? So some of the anomalies that Dr. Avi Loeb, now I'm saying his name wrong, has raised, and I'm reading from his Medium page. Its diameter is larger than 5 kilometers, and it's projected to be 33 million tons big, and or mass wise. And this is larger by a factor of either 1,000 or 1,000,000 than the other two interstellar objects. So it's just like, orders of magnitude bigger than what they would expect. Then there's the bizarre jet that it has. It has a jet of material going forward. Comets usually have a tail, although I just read a study today that now they say it does have a tail, that the tail now has materialized. It didn't have a tail all this time, and now it has a tail, a weak tail. But they don't really know why it had this forward tail, anti-tail they call it. It has an unusual chemical composition, too much nickel, not enough iron. And then it also has mostly carbon dioxide and very little water. That was another anomaly. Another anomaly is that the light from Three-Eye Atlas has extreme negative polarization, another thing they've never seen, wouldn't expect. The trajectory of Three-Eye Atlas is anomalous because it's aligned with the elliptic plane of our planets in the solar system. So it's as if they plotted the course so that they could go really close to Mars and Venus and Earth and the sun. And they said, there's the likelihood of that happening is 0.005%, a likelihood of that happening just, by chance. And then another anomaly is the fact that there was a WOW signal that was received back in 1977, which was a signal that they believe was received by an intelligent source. And it came from the same location that Three-Eye Atlas is projected to have come from. So that's just a short list of anomalies. There's actually a longer list. I think I have it somewhere, but I thought I'd just go over a few of them. And so the reason this is so interesting is because it's anomalous, right? We have an understanding, right? Astrophysics have an understanding of the way in which comets are, that what their composition is, what they're made of, how they behave, how they travel, what their size is, right? What their trajectories are like, how they behave when they encounter the solar wind, and what they do when they get close to the sun. And so there are all these expectations, right, based on received knowledge, the standard model. And Three-Eye Atlas is just not, is not following the expected, the expected rules. And so it's very interesting. And so in science, whenever you have an anomaly, it forces you to question your model, right? It's like, well, I have this, and the way I phrase it in my videos is they have this hypothesis that this is a comet. And I think it's a hypothesis because they don't have enough data to support that hypothesis, in my humble opinion. I could be wrong. But all of these anomalies are examples of like anti-confirmation of that hypothesis. And whenever you have a hypothesis in science, I think, this is my, kind of, it's a hypothesis like your preliminary theory. It's like your idea. And then you seek data to confirm your idea. And if you can confirm it, it becomes a theory, right? And if you can't confirm it, then your hypothesis is faulty and you have to come up with a new hypothesis, right? And so I think we need a new hypothesis because the current hypothesis is that it's a comet. And there are like 10 different anomalies that suggest that it's not a comet. And they don't know what those anomalies mean. Now, I did see a study come out that I just saw today. So there's a website you can go to that has preprints. I was going to reference that. I have it here somewhere. Is this it? Oh, now I can't remember what I did with it. I have all of these, all these windows, but it's called, I have it written down. It's called ARIV. And it's like a site you can go to where scientists send preprints. So this is before it's peer reviewed. They do their research, they write it up, they send it to these preprint sites. And that way people can read it while it's being peer reviewed. And so I was just talking about, I've been checking that to see what's coming out. And, I find it really sus that there's so few preprints coming out about this, because this is a major astronomical event. And I would expect to see preprints coming out all the time, especially because there are so many telescopes, there are so many orbiters, there are so many sources of data, there are so many labs that are working on this. All right, let me go back to the question. So that was just my little summary of anomalies. And so this is really interesting to a lot of people. And so a lot of people have said, well, it's clearly not a comet. Maybe it's alien tech. And Avi Loeb, this Harvard scientist, is actually one of the only scientists who said, well, it could be, right? And even that's controversial, just for him to say, yeah, it could be. I mean, there's a lot of anomalies, right? Yeah, so I agree with artists and oracles. The silence is totally sus, right? I can't tell how many people are here. Can someone else tell? I forgot how to do that. Oh, 468. Okay, I think I just saw it. Thank you, Tam. Yeah, the silence is sus. And let me address some of the people that say there's reasons for it. Some people say, oh, it's a government shutdown, so that's why we're not hearing anything about Three Eye Atlas. Well, here's the problem with that answer. First of all, NASA is not the only space agency. There are a lot of space agencies that could be reporting on this. European Space Agency, they've got, China has a space agency, Russia. There's a lot of space agencies that could be talking about this. And since they all tend to compete with one another to try to put out their research first, it wouldn't serve them to be like, oh, well, if the US isn't going to talk about it, I guess we won't. No, they would have the opposite reaction. They would say, oh, this is our chance to put out the information first, right? It's that whole space race. It's an ongoing thing, this competition among scientists. And so it's kind of weird that no one else is talking about it. Another thing that's even weird about the fact that US-based astrophysicists are not talking about it is the way that funding works. So NASA may be shut down, but that really just means that like the NASA website is maybe not updated, or the NASA office, maybe no one's there, maybe they're at home. But if you're a scientist working in Jet Propulsion Lab, or you're at some university, your lab doesn't shut down when NASA shuts down. That's not how it works. You work in a lab. I've worked in labs, you work in a lab. Yes, the lab might have government funding, but your funding is not provided on a day-to-day basis. So if NASA shuts down, and my lab, let's say I'm at City College in New York, and my lab has a government grant to do the research that I'm doing, my funding doesn't dry up the day that the government shuts down, because the funding usually comes. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I'm trying to remember because I've worked in a couple labs when I was young. But the funding comes like once a year or a couple of times a year. It doesn't come every day. So you have funding, and you don't stop your experiment mid-experiment because the government shuts down. I mean, that just, it doesn't, it might happen in certain circumstances, but I find it hard to believe that these astrophysicists who are working on this project, who are doing research on this comet would suddenly stop doing research just because there's a government shutdown. That doesn't actually make sense. Okay. Because, yeah, the money's already allocated. They already have the money. And yeah, they might be waiting for more money later, like when the fiscal year ends, but it doesn't just dry up the day the government shuts down, right? Most of the people who work on these things, they're not government employees. They are university employees, is my point. Thank you for the donation from Storm 88. I appreciate it. Yeah, this person says, I assume they're working without pay. No, but professors are not paid by the government. So NASA doesn't, yeah, there are NASA scientists, but there are also lots of other scientists, and they are paid by their university. And yes, they're also paid by grants they get from the government, but those grants don't dry up the day of a shutdown. So they're also not working for free. They're still getting paid. Like I got a lot of grants when I used to be a professor, and you apply for a grant, and I didn't get a lot of big grants. I'm not trying to say that I didn't get a lot I got little grants, but I know a little bit about the process. You apply for a grant, you get the grant in a lump sum usually, and then you spend the grant. It's not like they're standing over your shoulder and doling out money like a paycheck. That's not how grants work. So if someone on here knows more than I do about the current state of grants in the scientific world, let me know. That's just my understanding based on my experience when I worked in labs and when I was a professor getting grants. Okay, so I'm just looking for more questions, and please let me know, like if this person, Storm 88, you gave me a donation. Did you have a question? Or were you supposed to do it as a super chat? Please, if you ask a question, I will answer it like a super chat, because I don't know the difference. Oh yeah, I'm not following this Comet Swan. I probably should, because people are asking me about it, and I haven't been following it. So maybe I'll start following it. But my life is all, how should I put this? It's all driven by my guides, right? Like they're in charge. And so they wanted me to talk about Three Eye Atlas. And so I started talking about it. And then I also am guided by you all. So a lot of people were really interested in Three Eye Atlas. And so after that first video I did, it got a lot of views, and I was like, oh, and then I got a lot of comments. I do try to read all my comments, and I got a lot of comments from people saying they were really interested in this. And so I was like, okay, I should do more content on this, because this is what people are interested in. And so that's kind of how I decide what to post on, whatever my guides tell me. And then I combine it with, what do the people want? And that's because my purpose, the way it's been explained to me by my guides, my purpose is to help people navigate through this difficult time that we're going through, particularly in the US where I'm based. We're really going through it here in the United States, because we've had a fashion, I don't know what I can say on here. We've had a flashy clown take over our government, and we're looking at the disintegration of many of our institutions. And so people are, and we didn't choose this, right? This was not what we chose. For those who've been following me since the joust, I got very, very clearly before people were talking about it, that the Lotus Queen won, the head clown did not. There was a fix-in with the help of the Star Boy and certain satellites. And anyway, you can watch my older videos where I talk about that at length. And so we're heartbroken, right? As a country, we're heartbroken. The majority of us, not all of us. There is a minority of people who are happy, but it's a very small minority. So we're heartbroken. And so my guides told me that it's my job to help people navigate these difficult times. And in particular, I'm here to help people remain hopeful and to keep their vibration up, so that we can come together and affect a new outcome for ourselves. And so this is why I post these videos. I'm here to, use my gifts and my knowledge and my speaking ability and my entertaining ability, because I do try to use humor to keep people's spirits up. That I'm meant to use all of these gifts to help everybody to navigate this difficult time, and to help everybody shift their consciousness up, and to raise the vibration, unify, come together, learn how to love each other, so that we can create a new world for ourselves. And so that's why I'm here, and that's what motivates all my videos, and the topics of my videos. So if Swan is relevant to 3i Atlas. Oh, Amy, is this a super chat? I think it's a super chat. It's a question with money. Is that a super chat? Okay, I have to I gotta play some music. Thank you, Amy. Okay, with the asteroid warning, do you anticipate more information? Also, is 3i Atlas related to November 7th and your prediction for that date? Oh, good question. I didn't see the question before I posted it. So let me first go to, I did pull up. So for those who didn't see my video, I did talk about an announcement that was made about adding 3i Atlas to the International Asteroid Warning Network. And so I'm on their website right now. There were people who were questioning when I had a post from the Daily Mail, and people saying, is this true? Is Daily Mail legit? But, actually it's being talked about in lots of places. That was just the first print copy that I found that I could quickly post on my YouTube posts. And so if you go to their website, they say that they have this, this International Asteroid Warning Network, where it's like a global project where they have all these different countries who all have telescopes, work together to look at the same comets or asteroids at the same time. And they do it to make sure that, nothing dangerous is going to happen. And so they've just announced that they've added 3i Atlas to their network, to their, project, and that the campaign is going to target 3i Atlas, quote, to exercise the capability of the observing community to extract accurate astrometry. And so then they have a registration. So if you're, an astronomer with a telescope, you can register. And then they're going to kind of combine all the data. And Avi Loeb, the Harvard astrophysicist, he was actually asking for something like this. He was saying, we need to be monitoring this thing. We don't know what it's doing. We don't know. It's not really following, our expected trajectory. What's it doing behind the sun, right? We don't know. We can't see it. So it's behind the sun right now. We don't know what it's doing. And because there have been so many anomalies, there are some people who are wondering, is it going to change trajectory? Is it going to head to Earth? Right? So that has brought on some people's kind of scary projections of, oh, it's going to come, it's going to invade us. Don't look up. We're going to be demolished, or it's nefarious aliens, or et cetera, right? All these scary scenarios. That is not the case. I'm not picking that up. There's a lot of intuitives who are not picking that up. There's also no data to support that. But they did add it to this warning system, right? So that means that they are interested in looking at it, and they're taking it a little bit more seriously than they were up until now. So I think it's really good news, because it means that they're going to be collecting a lot of data, and they're going to be sharing the data. And the fact that they publicly announced this means that, maybe they won't keep keeping it a secret from us. Maybe this means they're going to share more information. What I believe, so I'm going to answer the question from my own anticipation, is that it's going to get to a point where they're not going to be able to deny stuff anymore. because there's just so many amateur astronomers out there. And I also think that there are going to be some whistleblowers. And so I did talk about that in one of my videos, how what I picked up was that there was going to be an astronomer in possibly Australia or Tasmania or some, or that part of the world. It was going to be from a lab that's, not a really famous lab, where the astronomers didn't feel they had as much to lose in terms of their reputation. And they were going to come forward and speak more frankly about the data. And so I think as time goes on, especially when we get to like October 29th, which is when, I was afraid I was going to get on here and I was going to now I remember all these dates. Something significant is happening on October 29th. Someone remind me in the chat. It's getting, I think it's coming out from behind the sun at that point. Funny comments. So like as it comes out from behind the sun, so because it's behind the sun, or it's like behind the glare of the sun, the instruments can't really pick it up very well. And so they're waiting for it to come out. And when it comes out, they're going to be able to collect, a lot more data. And it's going to be really significant because there are certain expectations, certain predictions that the astrophysical models would make for what would happen to a comet when it got that close to the sun, right? You're going to expect it to get smaller. It's going to be more outgassing. There's going to be something called sublimation. You're going to have a lot more, a bigger coma, a bigger tail. You're going to, there's certain things, right? And so when it comes out the other side, those things are either going to be there or they're not, right? And so they're not. I'm going to predict right now that they're not, right? Because this is not a comet. And so they're going to really, it's going to be, I think, impossible at that point to maintain this hypothesis that this is a comet. And what my guide said is that the scientific community is kind of in a crisis right now because they're in a paradigm shift. And it's not even to the point of, is this alien? We're not even there yet. We're just in a paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift in science is when you have an existing model that everybody agrees to, like a law, like the laws of physics. You have these laws about what forces are and how they operate and how objects respond to these forces. And these are considered like immutable laws. Well, then something happens, right? There's a finding, there's an experimental finding, which kind of just confirms that law, or it demonstrates that, oh, here's an object that doesn't follow that law. So I guess it's not a law then, right? So they're in the middle of a paradigm shift. And so what I'm predicting is that in a few days, in a week or two, it's going to be undeniable, right, that we're in a paradigm shift. And then they're going to have to come up with a new theory, with a new hypothesis. They're going to have to come up with something to explain why this thing doesn't follow the laws of physics, right? They're going to have to explain it. So that's what's going to happen first. With regard to it being an intelligent being that's actually broadcasting communications, I haven't gotten yet whether or not they're going to admit to that. SETI, another announcement I made that this happened yesterday too. SETI, which is an organization, government funded, but it's a research institute that's been around for many decades. Let me see if I can remember what the acronym stands for. Look it up real quick. They never use the full name. It's annoying. But it's an organization that's searching for intelligent life in the universe. Where's the full name of it? Well, I can't remember. It's like Search for Extraterrestrial something Institute or something like that. It's called SETI. And so they put out a paper yesterday saying that they're revising their protocols all of a sudden for no apparent reason, that they use to communicate with ET. And one of the things that they said in this article was that they're expanding their method of communication from just scanning radio waves to now scanning other types of communication, which I think is really interesting because 3i Atlas is broadcasting something and it's not a radio wave. is my, I did not get that it was a radio wave. And so it kind of makes sense that, oh yeah, they got to change the protocols. I think that's also good news. And the second part of your question, is it related to November 7th of my prediction? I've been wondering about that because I did see November 7th as an important date for 3i Atlas as well. But I was kind of wondering if between October 30th, 31st, when there's going to be some new revelation about it, and November 7th is when a lot of things might be happening. November 7th, the prediction that I made, which was back in August, and I can't always remember my predictions exactly, so I'm going to be paraphrasing it. It was something to the effect of the circus is going to be fully revealed or collapsed by November 7th. And I don't usually give dates. So, in fact, I think these were the first, in August was the first time I ever gave dates. So hopefully I'll get more information about that between now and the 7th. But it was about the circus. And so I wonder now, is 3i Atlas related to the downfall of the circus? Yeah, I don't know. The things that I was told were going to lead to the downfall. I keep being told more and more things over the months, right? But I was told that the Magatonians had to come to a certain level of consciousness to recognize that the circus did not serve them, that we had to get to that point for it to collapse. I was also told that we had to go through some things. A lot of people had to suffer, especially people who chose that had to suffer in order for us to get to that point where the circus collapsed. I was also told that the files of Epi would be key to the downfall of the circus. I was told that Chuckle Cheese, when that whole unaliving happened, that was made a lot of progress towards the collapse of the circus because it fractured. I was told that a lot of the makers of laws who wear red hats were going to defect from the party, and that was going to lead to the downfall. So we've been seeing a lot of the things that I was told, and so that gives me reason to feel encouraged that it is, soon. But here's the thing about psychic stuff. We get information, and to us, it looks like it's happening right now. And so it's weird when it takes a while because it feels so clear that it's happening and that but then it ends up taking time. Did I miss out on some of these? Oh, thank you to Yvonne Goodrich. They gave me a super chat or a super something. And they said they have no question. They just appreciate my knowledge. Oops. Oh, I didn't mean to hit that. Oh, that's Rossi. Oh, thanks, Rossi. Promoting my, I was trying to put that one I just saw. Well, okay, I didn't do it. All right. Let's see if there's any other questions. And I'll probably end pretty soon because we've already been going for an hour and 17 minutes. It's just so fun. I love answering questions. Super something, right? Whenever I get a donation, it's a super something. Nick DeSant, latecomer, do you remote view? Yeah, kind of. So remote viewing, for people who don't know, it's a technology that was developed by the U.S. government. It was also developed in Russia, actually, first. And basically what they did was they took psychics and they tried to kind of, really structure psychic work. And I do like it for that reason, because, I have that background. I like science. I like math. I like evidence. And so remote viewing is a technique where you basically have a clairvoyant who uses, coordinates to go to a specific location and use their clairvoyance to view what's happening there and then report back. And then people actually have data about that location where they can verify whether or not you're right. And so it's kind of a fun thing to learn how to do. I did used to teach it in my classes, and I do sometimes remote view. And so remote viewing, you can also think of it as like astral travel. So I am an astral traveler. The way that I work as a psychic, as a mystic, as whatever you want to call me, is that I leave my body and I travel into other realms where I either speak to different guides, or sometimes I do remote view, go to locations and try to see what's going on. So yeah, there's a lot of different names for that. Some people call it astral travel, out of body travel, remote viewing, shamanism. But it's just a particular way of getting information. And so, yeah, remote viewing is an accurate way to describe some of what I do. Not all of what I do, but I do sometimes do like that. There was a point, I think in January or December, right before the inauguration, where I remote viewed into the White House, and I was able to go into to go see like Joe Biden and the thing about remote viewing is it can be invasive, right, of someone's privacy. And so you have to make sure you're doing it like for the right reasons, that you have permission, and that you're not violating someone's privacy for some superficial reason. But I did have this really interesting remote viewing experience with hearing Jill Biden say to Joe, "You've done enough," and he wasn't well health-wise, right? We didn't know back then that he had cancer, but she said, "You've done enough." And I guess it was because, their lives were on the line. Joe's and Kamala's lives were on the line because of the threat of see, I have to be careful what I say on here, but if you've watched some of my earlier videos, I did talk about some of the threats that they were facing that, affected their decision to not challenge things. And the threats were not primarily against them. They were against their families. And so the concern that she had was, why sacrifice your family for this? Like, haven't you sacrificed enough? Why sacrifice your children and grandchildren, right? I'm just going to throw this up here. I'm one of the dreaming women. I coined that term many, many months ago to refer to all of the women who started waking up and who started, 4 a.m. Club was a term that Gia Prism coined for all the women waking up. And I started going online around the same time as Gia, and then we connected and got to know each other. But then I was given the name Dreaming Women by my guides because I was not just connecting to women who were waking up at 4 a.m., but I was connecting to all of the psychics and intuitives out there like me who felt a calling to specifically start doing political work to help people navigate difficult times. And so I started doing a lot of networking with other psychics on TikTok, on YouTube, offline, in my community, and we started coming together to talk about, how can we use our gifts to help people. And Dreaming Woman really doesn't just refer to women, it refers to all genders, but I was told to use that term because of the rise of the divine feminine. So here's another one from P. Navarre. Give it up for the Dreaming Women who have held the line since November. So there's just a whole lot of us, right? Intuitives who are out here, trying to form a community and trying to help people navigate the situation and trying to tune in every day relentlessly and get information to help us all. What would you all do? I think Morgan is asking, what would you do if you met an ET? Kiss them, marry them, hug them, or run away? You don't really know until you have that experience, do you? Here's a latecomer who said they had another experience with Atlas. I love hearing about other people's experience. So I'm always encouraging people to share those in my comments because it does provide people who read the comments a sense of community to know that there are other people out there. And, I've been mostly posting about the circus, right? About the political situation. And lately I've been posting more about 3i Atlas. And I think we kind of needed a little break, right? From just focusing on the circus every day. My tendency is to think, oh, I have to talk about that every day. Like that's what people need me to talk about. But then they kept telling me, oh, you got to talk about 3i Atlas. I'm like, okay. And I was like, why is everyone so interested in this besides the fact that we just love star beings and astronomy is so interesting? But I think it's also because it kind of raises our vibration, right? To focus on this for a while and to focus on, high level beings who are more evolved than us, beings who are benevolent, to begin to visualize ourselves like joining the Galactic Federation, evolving past the war stage. Like we're a war planet, we're warlike beings, but once we evolve past war, past violence, then we're actually eligible to join the Federation. We're not eligible right now because we're warlike. And so I think it gives us all a chance to kind of hope and imagine that that's where we're headed, that we're headed to this higher vibration, right? And that's what's exciting about the star beings showing up and about them, initiating full contact which I don't have the timeline for it, but it's soon. I feel like it's next year and the next maybe few months. They've been here for many months. Well, almost a year now. They've been here, some of them. And so, it's very exciting to think about when we finally get through this, right? The shadow period, the dark night of the soul that we're going through as a country and really as a planet. It's nice to think about that. And this is one of the things that I was told from the beginning is that we really have to devote time to that. We all have to devote meditations to visualizing the future we want to see. It's really important that we do that. Okay, so I'm just going to do one more question before I jump off. And if there's another super chat, I'll do that one first. Other psychics predicted 2027. I think it's going to be before that. Some are saying 2026. So I'm not the only one saying 2026. There's a few. Yeah, so I keep calling on this person. I'm calling on, you're not my student, but that's what I'm used to thinking of, right? I keep putting this person forward. Jennifer McAlchemy, talking about and thinking about and meditating about 3i Atlas raises my vibration. I think it does. I think it raises our vibration. I know that the first time I connected with 3i Atlas, what happened was I got a healing. And so for the first, 30, 45 minutes of the meditation, it was just them healing me, just sending me healing energy. And it was so beautiful. And they did tell me to tell other people, hey, put some crystals in your hand and, make sure you ask for protection, set your intention that you only want to connect with the highest energy. You don't want to connect with any low energy or any beings that are not here for your highest and your best. And then focus your attention on 3i Atlas and ask, for healing. I have had a lot of people in my comments say that they've been getting healing, or they've been feeling love, or just like, really good feelings when they tune in. And I feel that way too. I feel that connecting with them is very positive. I also feel like I feel that way in general about the different star beings that I've communicated with, that the ones that I work with, they're all interested in our well-being. They're all interested in helping us. That's a sweet comment. They said they are my student. Okay, so I think there's some chat in here about timelines. I don't usually use that terminology. I just haven't been told to use that terminology. And I do find it can be problematic for people who have hierarchical thinking. That whole what is it, rapture belief system, where the chosen ones, the special ones, are going to go to the new earth and the other people are going to be left behind. I just don't subscribe to those hierarchies. And so I try to stay away from release the gifted memberships. Ooh, I didn't do that. Um, so I just kind of shy away from that. Um, you know, but I might use it in the future, that timeline language. But I tend to only use the language that 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 I get directly from my guides, right? With regard to the comment about gifted memberships, I think they're already active, but I don't know. So I think someone did give one earlier in the live. Somebody gifted a membership, but I don't know how it's done. Someone said there was like a like there's a little thing on the right side of your name or something. I just posted this by accident. It's from Julie, maybe for a reason. This is happening all over, but most critically in the US. We do understand that the vast majority did not choose him and were lied to or manipulated. So I think that was part of a conversation that I wasn't a part of. I have to give it. See, like Terry, here we go. Terry just gifted a membership to somebody. Thank you, Terry. I don't know how you do that, but I appreciate it. So they gave somebody a membership. I do have memberships. I have a Patreon. I always forget the promotion part. I have a Patreon. It's called Metatron's Academy. And you can join my Patreon. What I do on my Patreon is I do little behind the scenes videos to talk about, stuff I don't talk about on my channel, like what goes into certain videos. So I just put a link in to my Patreon. Hopefully I did it right. Oh yeah. Is this the one I already? Yeah. So there's the gift from Terry Mullins. Thank you for that. Divergent Moon. Thank you for that explanation. Here we go. Here's my last question before I sign off. Do you have any tips for beginners for connecting with 3i Atlas, or if anyone can recommend a channel with something like that? So before I answer this, just a quick reminder, please like and subscribe and all the things. Yeah, a lot of people have asked this. So I've given kind of short explanations, which is, it's just that I recommend that people hold crystals in their hand because what 3i Atlas told me was that because they're a kind of sentient rock, like they're a mineral that's also organic. They showed me that they were organic and also mineral. And I was talking to them, so clearly sentient. And they said that the reason why it helps to work with crystals, but really any rock, doesn't have to be a crystal. The thing about crystals is the crystalline structure is a great conductor for energy. So that's why we use crystals in our, our watches and our phones and everything, and our computers, because they're great energy conductors. But of course, you could work with other rocks too if you have a connection with a certain kind of rock that's not a crystal. But you hold some crystals in your hand or some rocks because what the 3i Atlas told me was that they're able to connect to us through minerals because they are mineral and they have a special relationship with the minerals on Earth. And so like one of the groups of people that they're here for are the rock people. So they have a relationship with the rocks on planet Earth who are also sentient. And so that's why they said, if you hold rocks in your hand while you connect with us, that can help us to connect to you. And I think specifically it can help them to send you healing like through the crystals, right? Because these are conductors of energy. So it just makes it easier. So what I do, anytime you want to go into any type of trance, or anytime you want to connect with any type of spirit or being, you always want to, kind of meditate first, go into a meditative state, relax, try to, I always tell my students to do an emotional inventory where you kind of give yourself a moment to assess your emotional state, make sure you're not in any kind of emotional distress when you sit down to go into do any type of trance work. So if you're angry, or you're very, very depressed, or heavily grief stricken, or just dealing with any really strong negative emotions, that's not a good time to connect, because when you're in that state, you can attract thought forms and lower vibration entities or experiences that are just really based on your emotional mind, your emotional vibration. So the first thing you want to do is kind of do an assessment, make sure that you're emotionally prepared. And if you are going through some things, then what you do is you use your meditation in part to process your emotions. And so I do this, and some of us do it involuntarily, right? So when you're first starting out to meditate, this happens, and you don't like it. You're like, oh, I sat down to meditate, and all I kept doing was thinking about all my problems. It's so annoying. I just wanted to meditate. Well, that's probably because you have not made any space in your life anywhere else to sit down and think about your problems. And so it's going to happen whenever you sit down and clear your mind. So make space for that. So what you can do is sit down and say, okay, I'm going to spend the first 10 minutes. I'm going to play some meditation music. And, I just go onto YouTube and find some meditation music. You can also go onto Sounds True, or what's that app I use on my phone? There's a meditation app. Anyway, you can meditate in silence, which I also do. But when you're starting out, it helps to have music. It just helps you. And so also, if you're stressed out or going through something emotionally, playing solfeggio music in the background, solfeggio frequencies, is very relaxing for the mind and for the emotions. And so I do recommend that we all play solfeggio frequencies as much as possible during this apocalypse. So pull down some solfeggio frequencies, get comfortable, close your eyes, and then spend about 10 minutes just processing, feeling your emotions about whatever you're going through. I'm really stressed out today because I just heard that they're going to cut off SNAP benefits, and I have an elderly aunt in Montana who's on SNAP, and what's she going to do? Is the whole family going to have to support her now? Can we afford to, right? And so maybe you're stressed out about that, right? Or maybe you're, grieving, or, whatever you're going through, you're angry about something that happened, and you just give yourself a moment to just kind of think about it and feel your feelings, and you honor that. You spend 10, 15 minutes doing that in that relaxed state with the music playing that's helping to calm you. And then when you're done with that and you feel like you've processed your emotions, then you're like, okay, now I'm ready to go into a different state of consciousness and connect with something beyond me. And at that point, what I recommend is that you ask for protection. And so I always ask for protection from Archangel Michael. There's a lot of people you can work with for protection. I also work with Ogun, which is an Orisha from an African tradition. I work with so many different beings, but I am really fond of Michael for protecting me from spirits that are up to no good. For some reason, he showed up in my life many years ago, and we developed a relationship, and ever since, he's my go-to. And so you can work with whoever you work with as a protector, and that's going to depend on what your tradition is. And so maybe for you, that's saying, calling in, the Christ consciousness, Jesus Christ, or the Buddha, or creator, or the mother, right? Whoever that is for you, you're going to ask for protection. And so you're going to ask that they protect you from connecting to any energy that's going to harm you in any way. And then you set your intention. So I always like to say a prayer. I also like to burn herbs. Can't quite reach them. But, sage, sweetgrass, frankincense, and myrrh, some type of herb that's for protection. And you can just Google that. Or if you are from a tradition, you can maybe ask the old people in your culture, what do they do? Because different cultures use different herbs, cedar, right? There's different herbs you can burn. Or some people, instead of burning herbs, they like to spray. That's also too far away. I have some angelic sprays that I got from this one person who makes sprays where she like prays over them, and they're really powerful. You might work with an herbal spray of some kind. Florida water I like to work with. I'm looking at my altar. That's what I'm looking at to see the things I can talk about. Right. And then you set your intention. You say, oh, I want to connect with Three Eye Atlas, and I want to receive healing, or I want to communicate with them. And you set your intention. Why are you doing this? Because what Three Eye Atlas said to me very clearly yesterday was that there are a lot of people trying to connect to them, or remote view, or astral travel, or whatever. And they're not letting them because they don't have the right intention. Like they're just doing it out of curiosity, or because they want to be able to do a video and they want to become famous, or get likes or clicks or whatever. And they can discern that. And so sometimes we're not clear with ourselves why we want to do something, right? So be really clear with yourself. Okay, why am I connecting with Three Eye Atlas? My intention when I did it was I'd like to connect with Three Eye Atlas so I can get whatever information is appropriate for me to get that I can share with my audience that will help them, right? So that's always my intention, is how can I get information that can help people? And so that's the information I get. And then they're very clear about who I am and where I'm coming from. The first time I did connect with them, they did have to spend like 45 minutes healing me, but also helping me to raise my vibration so that we could meet. And they said that everyone can't connect with them because they can't get their vibration high enough to connect with them. And so you may have to spend some time in the meditation just raising your vibration, right? And so you might have to be patient. And so you set your intention, and then you just go into a meditation with your crystals, and you just, wait and see what happens. And the connection could come in a lot of different forms. It might be sensations in your body. It might be a feeling like love, or a physical sensation like tingling. You might see things, you might hear things. There's really no correct way to connect, because we're all different. We all have different gifts, and we all have different. Some of us are clairvoyant, some of us are clairaudient, some of us are mystics. Right? We have different ways. If you're an empath, you may receive it in terms of how you feel it in your heart. And so just just accept how you receive the information, as long as it's positive. Of course, if you have any negative experiences, you should very quickly call in your protection. Say, Archangel Michael, please assist me. I don't want to have this type of experience. And you quickly disconnect. But you should not be having any negative experiences. If you're doing that emotional, work first. All right. So I could answer questions all day. And but I am going to end this now, because if I post this, people want to go watch it after I do a live. It's too long. They're like, it's too long. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate you coming to my live, and thank you for all the comments and the likes and the subscriptions and the memberships and the super chats and the super, what was the other thing? The other super thing. Here's a question. Let's end with this question. Can you do a live where we can all try at the same time? I have done a lot of lives in the past where I lead group meditations, and I've been thinking about returning to that. I'm kind of waiting for the signal from my guides that it's appropriate to return to that. But I am going to return to that, I think. So thanks for the suggestion, and I will see you all at the next live. Or maybe just at my next in the comment section of my next video. I like this one. There's no such thing as too long. I'm here for it. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Take care.